hopefully our fifth one. During the meeting. Item 2 is adjustments to the agenda. Any proposed adjustments? Hearing none, let's move on. Citizen comments, item 3. This is for citizen comments not related to one of the applications before us tonight. If there are no comments, we'll just move on to the pre-application for 122 Atlantic Highway.
Yeah, awesome.
Would you like to take the podium and present your
I would
project?
love to.
Thanks.
I'll go first. I don't know how much time you're giving us, but. So this is a pre-application. We really wanted to do this. I've been talking to Max about this project for a few months now. I wanted you guys to meet Allie and Dylan, who are behind this whole thing. And I was excited that Dana's gonna be here. The last time I was up here was last year, talking about the campground that we're building on our property. Spent the last year digging stumps and working road work, but excited to start breaking ground on that soon. I don't know if you've seen all the work. It's so, you know, at this point, yeah, I wanted you guys to meet them. I'm so excited about this plan. Everyone that I've talked to in town is excited about it. And they're excited about it. We talked to the Waldeboro Business Association last week about it, and everybody was really excited. So the plan is, in really briefly, and I'll let them tell you more about their stuff, but our plan, my mother and I are selling off 5 acres of her land to these guys. We want to talk to you guys first to make sure that everything is cool with the neighbors, cool with the town. I've been talking to the DOT. I've got a new driveway approved by them for heavy use that's at the bottom of the hill. So it's got great sight lines in both directions. We're going to close down our existing driveway, which doesn't have great sight lines, to the west. So we can get a higher volume in. I've talked to the DEP because that whole area at the bottom of, you know, between the Dows and our land there, it's pretty wet, and there's a culvert that goes across the duck puddle. You know, so doing all the PBR stuff and everything we need. But at this point, you know, where we are is we haven't sold the land. We want to make sure that there's not going to be anything that could, you know, cause a problem with the town. You know, in terms of what it brings to the town, we're super excited. You know, we're looking to, and I'll let them elaborate more. They want to bring in and build a brewery, and then also house Maria and I getting back into the restaurant world and opening up a Main Kebab again, with a big parking lot and an entrance to Route 1 there, a shared one, so we're not splitting into 2 new entrances, just putting it into one. And yeah, we just wanted to, at this point, get a list from you guys or any ideas from you for what we need to be working on before we come to the application stage, you know, phase. Awesome. I'll let you guys talk more about this stuff. I'll let you take a look at these pretty pictures you made.
I think we have an extra one.
Did you guys meet? This is Dana.
Hi.
Yeah.
Will.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you. My name's Allie. This is my husband, Dylan.
Nice to meet you all.
Just a tiny bit of background of like who we are and why we want to do this. For the past 6 years, I've owned my own business in marketing and graphic design down in Portland. I do a lot of branding of restaurants, hotels, breweries. The last 2 years, my labels have been recognized as some of the best labels in the state by Down East Magazine. I've spoke for Adobe on beer labels. So lots of beer stuff from both of us. And we kind of just wanted to, we've been looking for a while for kind of a route out of Portland and into something that is a little bit more, feels like us, a little bit more community based. And we really love the idea of creating something that's sustainable and also provides community for, you know, farmers and other small businesses that we're able to kind of encapsulate. And yeah, I'll let my husband kind of go, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we're hoping it's going to look like.
Yeah. First and foremost, thank you all for your time and for being here today.
So yeah, my name's Dylan. I'm born and raised in Augusta, Maine, and I graduated from Coney and graduated from the University of Southern Maine as well. So I lifelong Mainer here. I have been in the craft beer industry now for almost a decade. It'll be 10 years later this year. My gosh.
Since he was 21.
Yeah, since I was 21. Yeah,
Since he could. Yeah.
nothing illegal. But I first started off at Allagash Brewing Company in Portland. And then for the last 7 years, I've been at Awesome Street Brewery in Portland as well. 6 of those 7 years being the head brewer and essentially the director of operations for production. So stuff that I'm very comfortable with and familiar with, making a lot of beer in that time. For those of you who have some of the handouts that Ali provided, we have a rough idea of some of the exterior inspiration and some of the interior inspiration for what the brewery would look like, as well as sort of a message, talking about what our angle is and sort of who we are and what our approach is to the business. And on the very back, if anybody's curious, I can pass them out later if you don't have one now.
Actually, I'll just read it.
But yeah, I was gonna read some of it now as well. So the idea of the brewery would be, the name would be Fox House, Haus, very sort of traditional European German sort of spelling of the name. And just a little bit about us. So what we're hoping to build with Fox House is a community center, first and foremost. Beer has been a fixture in this capacity for thousands of years. And the integration of agriculture, place, time, and creativity have long been a place that provides people a space to enjoy one another's company and the local produce essentially in the area. Fox House can provide just that. Evolution and vibrancy of top quality beers with community at its ethos. Craft beer is a unique opportunity to utilize what's available to tell a story about where we are in the world. And with Fox House, we hope to add to the story of Waldoboro and Midcoast Maine, and not just about the land and its resources, but to the people who've been writing it all along as well. And we hope to utilize and represent the hard work that the farmers and other small businesses in this area are already doing and have been doing for all this time to help create a truly mid-coast Maine product. So the brewery, as Shane mentioned, would be located on Route 1, a convenient access point, and can provide a multitude of things. For the people exploring our state, they can easily stop in for a sample, shop local from Applecroft's camp products and our own personal beer, have some amazing food at Maine Kebab, which I am personally very excited for, or enjoy a break on their ride home or to their destination. And then for the people who already call this area home or are nearby, it's just another place for people to get together, share the happenings of the day, celebrate milestones, big events, small events, everything in between. And these events can also help support the local community, providing greater visibility and action to address the needs of the town, both small and large. And we also hope to aim to create a space to gather and taste the best of what Maine has to offer in addition to our beers. We plan to have dedicated taps that feature additional local beer and wine options for people who are curious, and we can help sort of showcase the other amazing things that people in this area are already producing. So at Fox House, our mindset is that this is beer for friends, and we're all friends here. We want to extend this idea to a program called Beer for Friends so that we can, eventually down the line, create small batch brews in collaboration with local businesses and other restaurants to help, basically have curtailed beer for these people and sort of their own proprietary beer that we help them produce that they can sell at just their facility, giving it its own uniqueness. And really the big thing for us is that you're welcome at Fox House wherever you are in your journey.
And I want to just add that we want this to be a production space, a tasting room, not a bar. This will be some place that is not going to be open late. We want to be, of course, very courteous that this is a neighborhood, that there are people living here. Even at Austin Street, which is in the center of a very, very large bustling city, they close at 8 o'clock every single night. It's kind of just something, kind of a respect thing in the beer industry that we definitely want to continue up here. After meeting Shane and Maria, we're actually doing some really fun branding with my design business. And it's been just incredible kind of seeing how our visions have overlapped and how we're going to be able to facilitate different things for each other. Even down the line for like our, spent grain, feeding animals for them, all sorts of things that really create this very symbiotic relationship, and provide, more people coming to the cabins for Shane and Maria, a more beautiful and large space for, weddings to happen, even weddings being able to have, a small event at the brewery beforehand. It kind of just helps alleviate any stresses of their space and anything like that. So yeah, we're really excited to kind of see where this takes us, and thanks so much for the time.
Question?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not confused, but I guess I am. So it's gonna be a brewery,
Yes.
okay? Is there a restaurant in the brewery or is it just a brewery?
So Main Kebab is kind of more of like a, go and come and go, take type thing. So there's not going to be like, we're not going to be doing reservations or anything like that. So it'll be kind of like if you're going to like Odd Alewives and they have pizza there. It's going to be something that's very kind of low key, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it's going to be something that's kind of more of a grab and go thing. We probably won't have to go necessarily through a full restaurant thing, but yeah.
So what's your occupancy? I'm considering the parking, the traffic and all that. Have you guys thought about that or how do you feel about it?
So we, of course, have just kind of begun this process and trying to figure out, what the size of the brewery will be. We've spoken to a few builders and kind of figuring out how much space we're going to need. Of course, also being, beer enthusiasts ourselves, we've been to a lot of the other breweries in the area, Odd Alewives, Oxbow, and have kind of tried to, take a little bit of a idea from them of how large the space. We do, of course, know that we do have a much larger space as far as spatially than the rest of them. But we're definitely not trying to be having some sort of like wild festival like amount of human beings coming in and out every day. Definitely not.
Odd Alewives had to double their space within the first year, I think.
Yeah, and they're always popping
Yeah.
in there, and it's always such a great time. So
So if I ask a question here, to follow up, John, how would you distinguish yourself from Odd Alewives? I mean, in just comparison, because it's an operation right here in town. It's also a brewery. And I just want to know how you see yourself differently from them.
totally. So even just look and feel wise, we're going to be a lot different than them. We also have something that they're not going to be offering, which is distribution. So they do not allow distribution to any restaurants or anything like that in the area, where we are kind of hoping to that be a very large part of our business, is that we are being able to, facilitate relationships with restaurants and bars in the area to be able to provide a truly local product. And then also there's, as we know, again, in Portland, with there being 30 to 50 breweries or something like that at this point, there's so much room to grow, and like community in beer is honestly only helps, because it's going to be one of those amazing things where someone comes from, New York, Mass, wherever, to come and taste a few of these breweries, and with them all being so tight together, it really helps out. And again, just the type of beers that we're going to be making are also going to be much different than theirs.
Yeah,
kind of-
it's pretty nuts. Portland is, it kind of goes back and forth between this Portland and Portland, Oregon every year, pretty much the last 5 or 6 years, but there are more breweries per capita in Portland, Maine than there are in any other city in the United States. So for differentiation of beer, what's really special about this opportunity is that a lot of beer is self-expression, creativity, there's a lot of room for that, but also it's a reflection of the location as well. So something, for example, I know Maria is planning on having a lot of flowers grown in a garden. Those are things that I can utilize in beer that's somewhat different. The water source has properties to it that are chemically just going to be different than wherever, Portland, it's Sebago Lake, which, so, is the major water source there, but wherever you are, and why so many breweries can be sustained is that they do have such a wide variety and ability to be unique amongst each other, just for those reasons alone.
And-
That's just the starters, yeah.
Yeah, and then visually, of course, I become like being a marketing and graphic designer. I'm able to kind of bring something that is also additional, as I have a large following of people that follow my artwork. It'll be really amazing to kind of be able to incorporate other artists and have kind of a completely different kind of look and feel of than the brewery that they have. I'm absolutely obsessed with their brewery, but it's gonna be a very different vibe from what we're doing. Of course, we want people that love going to Odd Alewives to also love going to Fox House, but we want to make sure that they do feel different.
When you combine these three things together, you have this camping.
Yeah.
How far along is the campsite in terms of completion? I mean, cause you
No,
have camping,
we're-
you have food, you have beer, all in one site, basically. So,
Yeah.
sort of this. One-stop shopping kind of place.
It becomes
Go
a
hang out for the
destination.
weekend
Yeah.
and never have to leave, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how is that all gonna work? I mean,
Timing wise,
time-wise?
we are hopefully starting work next week on the first cabin. We're looking to have maybe 5 campsites by the end of this season. And then 5 more next year. And at this point, we're so early on with this, we have not sold the land, we have not, even started that process. In terms of the size, when you were saying about the amount of cars coming in, size of parking, occupancy stuff. We're not there yet because, we just want to make sure that it's cool with the town, and then we'll go through all the DOT stuff, we'll, bring in people to survey it and whatnot. But absolutely trying to make it a destination spot. We're trying to work on systems to tying it all together, like they said, spent grains to pigs, which then go back into, meat products for meat sticks on the bar, and working compost that all ties together. I would love to bring an educational element into that where we show off some of those closed loop systems and whatnot. My mother's farm is an amazing place. It's such a special piece of priest property. And, the one thing she's always said to me was, don't let anybody divide it up. And now we're dividing it up. She always wanted it to stay, on focus. And what we found with these guys was that they bring something that keeps it on focus, where we're using the land the right way. And trying to build these sustainable
It
systems.
sounds a little like a cross between Topsail Farm and Odd Alewives.
Yeah.
Sure is.
I
Sure
mean,
is.
Yeah.
And I don't hate that at all.
no, I mean, both been, incredibly successful.
Yeah.
Topsail Farm.
And to have all of that in
Who knew
Waldeboro,
that you could do
Like,
glamping in
really.
Waldeboro, but, it's been hugely successful,
yeah.
for sure.
And I love seeing all these businesses like that succeeding.
Absolutely.
That's not another Tractor Supply and Dollar General, that I like seeing cool businesses that are doing big things.
And, at one point, I mean, I think partly with our questions that we ask is about financial viability. I mean, you have the capacity to build something as big as this, as you're suggesting?
So we have already, we haven't went to the bank yet, of course, because we're trying to make sure that this is actually possible. But I do pretty well for myself, yes. So we have some savings, and we also have a few investors that are very interested. So no matter how it has to kind of boil down with the bank, we feel very, very kind of strong about being able to come through in the way that we really need to financially.
What do you think it'll cost to do something like this?
We're thinking $1 million. We have a cost of the land, we have a guesstimated cost of the build, and we have all of our costs for interior things that I definitely want because I'm crazy and like cool tile and stuff like that. And we also have all of the costs for all of the tanks and all of our equipment.
At the highest end.
Yeah,
too.
so we
Like,
we have
everything
guesstimated a little
priced
bit
out
extra.
what the maximum that it would essentially cost, and that's like. The exact number I don't have all together for everything, but there's all sorts of ways to circumvent having to spend absolute top dollar in every last piece of equipment or the build itself.
And we also have a few different ways that we've already talked to builders about kind of having even like a tertiary build where we're having, we know we're gonna have this space for 2 years and then we're gonna plan a build out of a slightly larger tasting room. There's lots of different ways that we can kind of work our magic with the budget, but yeah, we feel very confident in being able to fund this.
Just for everyone's sake, and you can say everywhere, Barbara did get in, she's on Zoom right now, so.
Hi, Barbara.
I've got some questions about the project. Is the driveway location the same location that you would propose?
Yeah.
For the campground?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's been approved, because they approved us for, what I asked him was to approve it for an event center, that, you know, and with hundreds of cars for the, you know, to be able to hold weddings. And so he said, let's find the spot on this property that gets the highest in case you go up in volume. And so he went further down the field than I thought, you know,
Okay.
in order to get the best sight line. Which is awesome. The place, you know, so it's really far down that field, so you can see it both directions. And then, you know, with that, we would, you know, we just make it wider, make the entrance nice and wide. And then we share a single sign post, you know, one sign permit, for all the businesses that are coming in.
Yeah.
And one big, and then, you know, we go in on a big parking lot. And, you know, because, and then I'm starting to learn all the stuff about, you know, the storm drains and all the related issues with parking lots next to creeks. That's a whole fun.
yeah,
There's a lot of
so
stuff
that's,
to get into.
this is my next couple of questions. So you've got the building position between a couple of streams of some sort. And the access to the building is across a bridge of some kind going
Yeah.
over one of these creeks.
Yep.
I don't know how the permitting on doing that works.
DEP.
Yeah.
DEP handles all of that.
DVR, the
DEP.
permit by rule.
DEP will have to be involved for those streams specifically for.
Yep.
I think the 75-foot setback item, but also just the permit by rule, stormwater permits, everything.
Okay, do you think you have the setbacks there to put this building in? Cause
Yeah,
it looks
yeah.
cramped to me.
It's, I mean, there's, you can get 75 feet in there, no
Okay.
problem, and fit a
From
huge building
75 feet from what?
from both creeks
And
to
that-
build the
and-
building, yeah.
Okay, and that's your minimum setback is 75 feet, like
I
there's,
think as
there's no
far as-
wetland or.
No, there's no
Yeah.
wetland, no
It's not protected.
habitat, no
Okay.
shoreline frontage, nothing like that. It's just, it is water and
No.
therefore falls under their
Yeah, right.
coverage.
Okay,
I mean, it's, you know, it's a little creek with no fish.
yeah, yeah, that's what,
It's just run off from the field,
that's what I,
you know, it's because there's those big fields behind it. So they just,
Right, right.
those fields drain down, cross the road, go through the woods and then come out a duck puddle somewhere.
okay.
You don't mind me jumping in because it ties into what, did you say you were doing a land survey of the split or was that? Or did I mishear? that?
I assume, you know, we probably will,
Okay,
you know, I haven't gotten that far yet. but-
no, I was just curious because the wetlands would come up in the land survey as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's why I just bring it up.
I had one other thing, I've forgotten what it was now. Oh. We're talking about this whole thing as big, you know, like a little campus, but really what we're talking about is approving a brewery. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're not serving food, you're probably gonna come back for an application, probably to code enforcement for the restaurant later
Yeah,
on, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all I've got as far as questions. I don't see
Is
anything
there-
really
is there any-
objectionable about it. Like to me, it's like the conditions with the land are really the sticking point. You've already got the driveway sorted out.
and I'll work on all that stuff. I just wanted to, you know, talk to you guys about exactly that. You know, the brewery, you know, having a big business at that end of town. You know, that's, you know, another food service, another brewery, you know, the industrial capacity of that. I think that's all good along Route 1 there to do any of those things. I just wanted to make sure. So.
I have a question.
Yeah, go
Hi, just curious, I think where you've got the brewery located on your map, it's pretty much still in the fields, right? The open fields?
Yep.
And I'm just curious whether you see that, well, given that you are on Route 1, and do you want, you know, the noise of Route 1? I mean, do you see that as, once you get the building going, is that being landscaped or some kind, a little bit of shelter between Route 1 and the building, or do you see it being open because you're featuring the building? I'm just curious how you're thinking about addressing the landscape in general.
So right now, there's actually a pretty solid wall of trees. Between Route 1 and that field. I'm not even sure if you can see that field from Route 1.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how much of that trees we can even cut down.
And we want to keep it also. I think
yeah, I
it's
mean-
really, I kind of think it looks cool
As
when
long
you're in
as
the
the,
field.
as long as the signage is really good. And you can see the parking lot. I think people being able to see a parking lot plays a big role in their decision to turn off of Route 1. If you can see, you know, you watch Delano's, when they built that bigger parking lot. It's just, people just turn off because you're like, oh, there's parking. I can see there's parking.
There's no parking lot, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
So, yeah. So my other question is with the proposed parking area, and you said that, I think the distance between the two roads is about 450 feet. So from the parking to the brewery is gonna be a pretty long walk, for some people.
Yeah.
And I'm just pointing that out. Is that gonna be a problem, or do you see that thing over the creek? So you're allowing driving up to the building too, right?
Not sure
Not sure?
what kind of, how serious that culvert bridge can be over that creek. You know, whether we have to stop people on one side of the creek and have them walk over, or whether we can drive some cars over for drop off. Again, I don't know until we talk to TEP.
Yeah, so that's all stuff to figure out in your early days yet, but just asking.
How do you see this unfolding in terms of sequence? I mean, is it all gonna happen at once? Are you brewery first, camping first?
Well, we're working on the camping separately. You know, and that's happening, and we're working on the driveway entrance. I've been getting bids for the driveway either way. In terms of, you know, timeline, they're looking to move fast on purchasing it. But, you know, before we even started that, we wanted to come here first. So,
And the total number of people using this facility, supposing everything is occupied, the campsite is occupied, the brewery is going, the food thing is going. How many cars do you think we're talking about coming in out of Route 1 at any given time? Particularly in the hours, say from 3 to 8. So those 5 hours, I mean, I would think it'd be pretty busy.
I hope so.
Well, I just wonder if maybe we have with a single driveway entrance. I mean, it's a little bit, I don't know these things. Maybe Brendan, you know them better than I. Whether one driveway like that can service a couple hundred cars, you know, without it being a problem.
Yeah.
But
Are you just thinking about the durability of the driveway?
well, durability, just having one entrance, people turning in and out of one entrance, you know.
It happens all the time. A lot of businesses have to deal with that. And the most important thing is to have sight lines on Route 1. And this is the best location for sight lines.
As long as-
And anywhere else up the hill, you're
Right
blindsided.
there for two-way traffic. Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the two-way traffic, for sure. And, you know, and lots of room. I mean, the nice thing is there's a huge field there, so we have lots of room to play with. We're not cramped there at all. And even when we talk about the lot that we're looking to sell to them, we can adjust those lines to make it work. Because, you know, it's not a hard lot yet. We haven't sold it off. We'll make the property lines work with whatever parking lot we need to work it. You know, I'd love a big parking lot there, and I'd love for it to be busy. You know, I mean, Moose Crossing down there, I mean, I don't know how many cars go in and out of there a day, and.
Well, that's treacherous, so I must say. Going in a Moose Crossing is like, you know, you
Yeah.
take your life in your own hands.
That's true of anything on. Route
Yeah, I mean,
1,
you know,
I mean,
I
it's-
suppose that's true.
I mean, and it's less treacherous than trying to turn into Tyler's Towing going down the hill.
It's a great idea. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you so much. Let you guys get to Dana's stuff.
Yeah, all right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for letting us chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope to see a lot more of you guys.
All right, let's move on to site plan review on 299 Atlantic Highway.
You have all the papers. I don't even have a copy of them, but. You can,
I didn't print them, so I can't help it.
yeah, no.
It's always my copy that has to go.
Anyway. It should be everything we here to get, yeah, here to get final approval for the warehouse. So just let you ask questions. I think you know where it's gonna be.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Out of curiosity, I mean, obviously, you've crossed, I think you've crossed most of your Ts and dotted your Is. Looks like a pretty straightforward proposition, but the one question I have, and this is kind of for Max too. Max, if this weren't just a warehouse, if this were a showroom, what other requirements would he have to open this? I mean, would anything be different if it was also, in other words, if you sell the business, Dana, down the road and somebody else wants to expand,
Yeah.
just have showrooms everywhere, what would be different as far as what would come in front of us or need to come in front of us?
Just a quick check.
I think you'd certainly need to have bathrooms.
The bathrooms and the
Parking?
parking would probably be a bit different, yeah.
I was just curious, but it would have to have a bathroom, you think?
He would have to address for the additional, he would likely have to have the local plumbing inspector or Mark, who's sitting in the back right there, look at the septic tank to make sure that it can handle any additional load. And I don't know, Mark, I'm not the expert on this one, in case you have any thoughts.
No, it depends. Would depend on the design, whether or not they had access to the other facility.
Okay.
If there's a restaurant in the building right next door that, is accessible, then that could go.
But do we even know if a restroom would be required in this situation? And not to make things complicated, I'm just curious.
Be added after the fact. It's not something that would be. I don't know off the top of my head if it would be a requirement, but it could easily be added on.
I think federal employment law might actually be causing the requirement to provide a bathroom for your employees that are working at the place.
Okay,
Dana, quick question. So when you build this warehouse, it's a pretty big warehouse.
Yes.
Do you get deliveries like from these big 18-wheelers? Do they come in that little area,
Yes.
unload everything?
Yeah.
And then at some point, do you take that stock and have to
No,
run it
if-
right across Route 1 to the other part of your business?
Yeah, some of it, yeah.
Is that-
Most of it would be in the building that's right beside it.
Right, so you
Yeah.
don't, so that's not a problem for you.
No, and trailer trucks come in all the time, and I've wondered if there'd be an increase. Tell you the truth, I don't know. There may not be, because a trailer truck comes in, it's a quarter full, a third full, half full. And if I'm ordering more stuff, they'll just fill that one truck. I'll just be at my place a little longer, that's all, so.
That's it.
Yeah, no, and it's a straight warehouse. I've just outgrown the whole facility as far as warehouse space. And my the guy that built the last warehouse reminded me, I said, well, this one's so big, I'll never fill it. Well, it's bulging at the seam, so.
Excellent.
All right, well, why don't we run through our checklist? Should we start with the findings and facts, Max?
Yep. Town of Waldeboro Planning Board has considered the following application for 299 Atlantic Highway, map R4, lot 34, including supportive data, staff review comments, public hearing testimony, and related materials contained in the record. The Planning Board makes the following findings of fact. Sorry if I'm speaking a bit too fast. I start vacation tomorrow and I would like to be done before 8 o'clock. Project description, the applicant has proposed constructing a 60 by 120 square foot warehouse. This would be considered warehousing as defined in the Waldeboro Land Use Ordinance on page 15-32. Planning Board is authorized to review warehousing under section 6.7.5 of the Land Use Ordinance. The applicant or owner is Dana Dow. Project location, the property under consideration is map R4, lot 34. The lot has a total acreage of 18.78 acres according to the Waldeboro's tax assessor's agent. The lot is Route 1 Commercial A District, which allows warehousing with planning board approval. The existing land use is retail. Proposed use would be continuing retail with warehousing. Previous permits. There were subsurface plumbing permits from 2007, 2001, 1995, and 1989. A temporary loading dock building permit in 2023. A 200 square foot walkway addition in 2015. Sign permits. A 25 by 80 square foot addition in 2007. Finally, the original site plan and building permits from 1986. Town planner deemed the application ready for planning board review with 1, a cover sheet, 2, a copy of the deed, 3, 7 pages covering the all applicable standards, 4, written stormwater and erosion control proposal drafted by applicant, 5, building design, 6, aerials showing habitats identified by Maine Department of Inland Fish and Wildlife, 7, modified survey map showing setbacks and distance from forested wetlands. Public hearing. Lincoln County News ran in their May 2nd and May 9th editions of the newspaper, the legal advertisement for the public hearing of this application on May 3rd, 2024. Town office mailed notices of the owners to the owners of properties that directly abut the borders of the property under review. The applicant had a public hearing during the May 9th, 2024 planning board meeting, and that's the findings of facts.
Okay, let's run through the submission checklist here. Item 1, conflicts of interest. Anyone on the board have a conflict? Hearing none. Does the applicant have standing? I think we just ran through all of that. Is the application complete? Town planners determine the application is complete. Finding of fact is accurate. Sound accurate to you, Dana? All right. So section 3.5.1, review documents have been accepted by the town office, submitted on the town office form. Notes here say it's confirmed by planner. Applicant information has been provided. Property location and details are on the site maps. The deed is provided in the application. Fees have been paid, confirmed by the planner. Estimated cost is $800,000. 60 by 120 warehouse. Start dates, May 24, ending fall 24. All other local, state, and federal permits are required. Note here, it says building permit, I assume no other permits are required.
Just a quick question, Mark, just because I'm now skeptical with that state fire marshal thing, does anything have to happen with the state fire marshal's office?
What's the square footage?
7,200 square feet.
Yep. It's gotta go for a permit through the state fire marshal's office and plans review.
What's the threshold for that, Mark?
For mercantile and businesses and street housing.
'Okay, site maps, there are maps included in the application here. We will go through shortly. Water and sewage provided, none are required, says, evidence site can connect to sewer, no sewer nearby. Existing septic is on file, here it says, but there's no bathrooms in the building, so septic shouldn't really apply here. Estimated vehicle pedestrian traffic is 15 to 20 vehicles for the day. All right. So we can accept 3.5.1 with the condition that we need the fire marshal approval. Three point 5.2. Document for planning board review. The title block, it says on original survey. So you haven't hired Garley and Dorsey to do this. design, right? I haven't seen a drawing from them in here. And you're just calling their name out from some old document? Or is this
Yeah,
current?
you had the large document you showed me.
I could get the details of the building. It's,
They haven't generated a document for you showing the location of this building, correct?
no, I generated the whole picture of where the building is,
Okay,
and I've got it.
You want to just bring it up here?
Piece of property. Here, the field is. This one, this is the boundary, because there's 18 acres there. And Dow Furniture is right there. And so the warehouse is.
Yeah.
It's the lower end.
okay. So this is the document that we're gonna be signing off on. Max?
I made notes for the next few items that there's a lot of items that do need to be added.
Okay.
Planning board approval block, revision block, and conditions of approval if needed.
And we're asking these to be added to this document. We're gonna sign this document.
This was what's provided. If you don't believe it's sufficient and more work needs to be done, which is make a note of that.
I mean, if it's just adding the blocks, then we can add the blocks. It shouldn't be a big deal. I just wanna understand what's going on. Okay. So, next page, conditions of approval block also needs to be added. Building and structure drawings, those are in the package here at the very end, I believe.
Yeah, but the official ones are actually right.
Okay. You're gonna be including those with the application?
They can be if we need them, but I can give them, but I don't.
We don't really.
I don't read, so. I can handle an erector set, I can't handle. Good.
All right, item 7, peak hour traffic, average daily traffic, 15 to 20 vehicles per day is what's noted here. Item 8, site map prepared by a professional engineer architects. I don't consider this to be a site map produced by a professional architect or engineer here, so I think we would waive this. That's amenable to the board. Stormwater erosion control plans, this is on here twice, right?
Yeah, there's gonna be 8.1 and 8.2.
Okay, all right, let's leave this for 8, because I got some notes about this, stormwater erosion control plan. Technical and financial capacity. The note here says expansion of existing business. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Nice.
It's just that it's an existing business that's been operating. And I think in the pre-application, I don't have the documents with me, so I don't know if, well, I gave it to Dana. I believe it was either I believe it was the pre-application included certificate of good standing of business with Secretary of State, if I recall.
Yeah, I didn't
But
bring that document. All right, our requirement here on this one was some kind of a document. It's kind of a big standard, as I recall, right?
yeah, it's what the board believes is sufficient for showing that the project can be finished.
If there was a document provided in the pre-application, let's have this added to the final version of this. So that we can check our box here. Contour lines on map. The note says supplemental map shows 2-foot contours. Seeing this map.
Not just going up, so I can.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's. I was looking at it. That one was real pretty. He found it, I couldn't find it again.
This one with the orange lines. It's 2 foot towards. It's after the stormwater items.
All right.
I'm gonna go back, find the document.
All right, then item 12 here is fire protection provisions, and the note says pending fire department input, but it looks like we have a letter here from the fire chief. Asking for a Knox box. No other issues. So we can accept this waiving item 8, and then we need the technical, the financial document on item 10. And technical capacity, I'm not familiar with your contractor. Has he built a 3-engineer metal building like this before?
Oh, yeah, yes, he's built stuff larger than this.
Okay. Well, it's your risk, so I'm not
Yeah.
honestly terribly concerned about it. All right, Article 7, buffer areas, note says banking around building will be revegetated. Max walked out for a minute, so I'll have to get back to what his note means. All right, so buffer areas, this is about screening the building from the road. You know what he's talking about here, this banking that needs to be revegetated? About screening the new building.
I think it has to do with the silt fence note
Yeah.
on,
This line here represents where the dirt will be disturbed. And it'll be banked off, so I can mow it. So that, and then the fencing will go outside that around this way. It's about 300 feet
Okay,
silt fencing. Cause it's uphill this way. So the fencing's gonna be around here somewhere on another map I had, but I think I gave that.
yeah, there's
Xander Lee.
a drawing in the erosion control plan about that. That's not what this is about, though. This is about buffering the view of the building from the road and for your neighbors. So I guess let's talk about that next.
Yeah.
All right, 7.2 is construction standards. The note here says building will comply with state building codes. Electrical standards, 7.3. This is about electrical disturbances. There's no reason why we should be generating that out of this building. 7.4 does not apply. 7.5 is net developable acreage. It says 1.1 acres out of 18 acres will be developed, which certainly is below the net. Is that 1.12 just for this project, or is that including the other developed area on the lot?
Well,
I think you're under by a large margin.
I didn't come up with that figure, so.
Oh, really? Okay. Noise 7.6, which is basically just about construction noise. I don't think your operation is gonna be generating a lot of noise aside from backup beepers, which we can't regulate anyway. Lighting, no lighting is proposed.
It'd be a
You're gonna wall
light outside.
Yeah,
I mean, there's interior lighting, but
no, this is specifically about the exterior.
yeah, no, there's just one,
This is the document.
Okay,
there'll be one yard light, probably right in the peak of the building. But a lot of times I keep those off.
All right, so the requirement here is that exterior luminaires need to be shielded or hooded to avoid glare. So there's a whole set of requirements here about what you need to do with that light.
If I put one in, yeah.
Like you said you were going to.
Well, I may, yeah,
Okay,
you may get one.
All right, refuse disposal, it says continue using current removal system, which is what, you have dumpsters on site?
Yes. They handle mostly cardboard and packing materials that come with the furniture.
Jumping back, Max, item 7.1 on buffer.
Yep.
What does your note mean?
In the standards, he has it. In the standards, I believe it was mentioned that once the construction's done, the area right around the building was gonna be revegetated. I was out for the whole thing. Did Dana explain revegetation or?
Well, that's not really what the
The note
buffer article is
Okay.
about, right? I mean, it's about screening from neighbors and from the street.
Well, we're already screened from the road by the existing building. Largely screened. I think it's kind of a and it's way setback, way beyond setbacks, so.
Well, and then just going through some of them, the Route 1 buffer, which is the 15-foot one. That area, this isn't happening right there at that buffer unless the board wants to add it on there. And then visual impacts, that would be where the planning board determines if it's necessary to minimize the neighboring screens. And wherever you believe vegetation may be necessary. I only had that banking item in there because that was really just a plan for at least revegetation.
Okay. All right, I don't really have any issues or questions about it. I just wanted to clarification about what was meant by the note there. Where were we? 7.9 sanitary. There is no sanitary. Since there's no signs that are gonna be proposed for the projects. Storage of materials. This is just during construction. Emergency services, we just talked about that. The fire chief wrote a letter. Archaeological and historic sites, note here says application is pending review, site is already developed. So there's a request into,
A copy was sent to the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. They usually take a couple weeks to get this done.
all right, so we need a condition on there pending that,
Yeah.
that letter. Okay, stormwater management. Applicant notes stormwater pattern will continue to the southwest of the warehouse. So I can sort of figure out where the water is flowing here. Running into a field doesn't really present a lot of stormwater concerns. There's no wetlands nearby here, right? This is a long sloping field, right?
Right, and I think we mentioned it last time, and I think the beginning with habitat map is still improving there. Once it gets into the wooded vegetated area further south of the field, that's when it starts getting wetlands.
It's a significant distance away, right?
So that's over 300 feet.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
Right.
So 8.2 is erosion control. You have an erosion control plan in here. Where is it here? Okay. There's some stuff missing from your erosion control plan in here. You've got a good narrative here describing what's going to go on, and it's just sort of raising a bunch of questions for me on erosion control. So you know that the dirt removed from the foundation site is going to be stockpiled on the site somewhere, but that's not shown in your erosion control plan. Your soil stockpiles need to have silt fence around them. That's not indicated anywhere on the drawing.
I didn't bother to do that because they're gonna dig whatever little they need to take off the surface here, and it's gonna go
Okay, you gotta show it, so we understand what you're doing. That's my point. Also missing out of your erosion control plan is the direction water flows. You know, we can infer that from the elevation drawing you have here, but you should be showing that in the erosion control plan so that, you know where the water flows on the site and indicate that, and that will, tell us where your BMPs need to go. Got silt fence, that's your only BMP that you're noting that you're intending to use. There's no storm drains in your existing parking lot?
No, they're way up. They're way up on the upside of the building. The storm drain is here.
So you do have a storm drain.
There is one here. Goes into the field areas down here, yeah. But that's,
Okay.
that's
So
all,
catch
that's
basin
existing,
or culvert, or what are you describing there?
just a culvert.
Okay.
Everything's a gentle slope downhill.
All right. I don't see anything in here about your concrete washout area. For your spill prevention materials, cleanup materials, that should all be included in your erosion control plan. The location should be shown on the drawing on your erosion control plan, so that people know where to go looking for them. Let's see here, underground drainage, that doesn't really have anything to do with erosion control. Those are basically my notes. So if you would amend your erosion control plan so that we can approve it. All right, 8.3 groundwater impacts. The note here says under 2,000 gallons of water will be used, which I believe avoids that requirement, right?
Yep.
Nice. 8.4 water quality impacts. The note says no above ground fuel tanks or untreated waters will be discharged. That all makes sense. 8.5 phosphorus control. Note says calculations show no negative impact to duck puddle should be done prior to building permit.
Yes, and I actually did have the calculation, it's just not in there. Following the calculations that are in the ordinance. Assuming this is still just 7,200 square feet of impervious area being developed, this comes out to 0.0066 or 0.05 if we're only counting developable area, which is far less than the allowance of 1.0 for developable area.
Okay. If you're counting the parking lot as impervious area, that's not really gonna significantly affect this calculation, right?
No, the 0.05 was me calculating the developable area, so taking out the wetlands and then calculating the developed areas.
Parking lot's already there, that's not gonna be changed.
This isn't a new parking lot?
No, that's already there. This piece right here.
The yellow.
That's already there.
Oh.
Yeah. This is tarred, this is dirt.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it's not impervious area. All right, soils, we have the soils identified here. I assume these are not the severe or very severe soil types. 8.7 air and water pollution. Notice there's no emissions caused by use. 8.8 aesthetic, cultural, natural values. The note here just says expansion of Route 1 commercial building. I don't think there's anything really objectionable about it. Flood zone, that's just not located in a flood zone. 8.10 river, stream, brooks, and wetlands. Notice says forested wetlands on site, wetlands identified Beginning with habitat map. This guy. Over 200 deep on the projects. Sense to me. 8.11 buffer requirements for water quality protection. All right, so. The note says not located near water body. Distance to the water body, that's what triggers the standard here?
Just going through them, its vegetative buffer shall be located between all disturbed areas of development and all water bodies and or adjacent to the development, including wetlands containing open water, streams, rivers, ponds, and coastal wetlands. And then starts going into retaining as much vegetation as possible between the two.
This project isn't really disturbing a ton of area. There's a big field there. I mean,
Yeah.
exceeding the disturbed area, I think probably gets that done. All right, Article 9, traffic impact analysis. We're not gonna see enough traffic at this project to trigger this requirement. 9.2, street access, it's existing access from Route 1. Parking and loading, 9.3. Note says warehousing requires 1 per 1,000 square feet, which is 7 parking spaces, and there's more than 20 available in the parking lot. So it looks like we've checked all the boxes there. Right, 10.14. Our paragraph or article on warehouses.
Yep.
So. I1, the note says copy of this decommissioning plan requiring DEP approval as included as appendix E. I did not notice this in the application.
Well,
Is
that might
this,
be-
is this, is
No.
this triggered by size?
Nope, I'm sorry. Copy of decommissioning plan requiring EP approval. That's,
That's probably left over
That's-
from the solar field, isn't it?
yeah, I don't know how that happened. Sorry about that.
All right, so.
Oh,
10.14.1.1 is a description of operations.
I have no idea what that happened. Because then it does get into the regular requirements. Once we get to 1.5 at least.
1.2, 1.3. 1.4, it looks like it's just that note in 1.1 that's the wrong text in it.
I'm gonna go to my computer and print off. See if it's still on the regular one. That's weird. I'm sorry.
All right, 1.2 plans for wastes. I think we've already discussed that note here. Oh, I see what's happened here. Everything in this column is that other job. Okay. Now I know why he walked off to. All right, so 10.14.1.2 is plan for waste. The standard says engineering architectural plans for the treatment of and disposal of sewage and industrial waste and any on-site disposal of waste. As we just discussed, it's basically just trash and recycling that you're producing out of this facility. 1.3 plans for impacts, engineering and architectural plan for handling traffic congestion, noise, odor, heat, glare, air pollution, fire hazard, safety hazard. I don't see anything on here that we haven't already discussed. Fuel use, designation of the fuel proposed to be used. That's an interesting. What do you do for fueling your equipment? I assume you're running forklifts out there, the old propane,
Oh, no, they are electric.
electric, okay. 1.5 shifts and employees. I haven't seen any information on this in your application so far. It's asking for the proposed number of shifts to be worked and the maximum number of employees on each shift.
One shift, regular operation. Might add, I'll be adding an employee to run the warehouse. I anticipate one additional employee. Hopefully it'll be more than that, but that's the purpose of it.
It's a matter of adding another sales associate or adding a warehouse associate. Someone may want to step up and take the work or hire a sales associate.
Okay. Landscape features, plan prepared by a registered professional landscape architect, engineer, surveyor, indicating trees to be retained. Streams and other topographical features on the site within 100 feet from the exterior boundaries of the property. This is not included in the plan. You're asking for a waiver on this?
Yeah, because all we're doing is just banking. There's gonna be no landscaping other than banking off of the walls. And I have it done because I want to mow it with a lawnmower. I want it done that good, so I don't like to keep all the bushes and everything else away from my buildings. I think it would be a fire hazard, so I keep it neat. Keep fussy.
And you don't have a sprinkler system in that warehouse, do you?
No,
Not, you don't
No.
need one or just,
you gotta have 10,000 square feet before a sprinkler system.
I see.
Which is probably why it's a separate building, because if I attach to the old one, then you gotta put a sprinkler system in the entire facility.
I see, that's why.
And it costs a lot of money to retrofit
Right.
something. But it wouldn't work. It works just as easy, separate building anyway.
Barbara, you had a comment?
I just don't think the plan requires a landscape plan. Should it'd be not applicable as an issue. And which I think you have there, right? No,
We have what?
nothing.
Okay. 1.7 chemicals, a list of all chemicals and hazmat regulated by US EPA or Maine DEP that are to be hauled, stored, or used or generated on the site. A list of required state and federal permits. I assume you don't have any here. Right. Okay. 2.1 enclosed buildings, all business, service, repair, manufacturing, storage, processing, or display on property abutting and facing a residential use. Or property or public road shall be conducted wholly within an enclosed building unless screened. I think that's probably the case here. You're not doing anything outside of this building.
No.
Okay. Loading docks, overhead doors, and similar openings shall be located on the sides of the structure adjacent to or across the street from residential use property. Where are your loading dock doors?
Right here. Right there, the house. Here. My house, of course, is way up there, so.
Who's your butter on the side that's getting faced by the loading dock doors?
Somebody. No, that's a bunch of trees.
Yeah. Yes,
They're across the street and then going south, it's just an undeveloped parcel,
It's undeveloped, okay.
or at least that area is undeveloped.
All right, 2.3 yard maintenance, all the yards abutting or across the street from residential use property shall be continuously maintained. Access points from a public road to industrial operations shall be so located to minimize traffic congestion. I think this is being taken care of. Sanitary conditions, all materials including waste shall be stored and grounds shall be maintained in a manner which will not attract or aid insects or rodents. I think the dumpsters take care of that. 0.6 ordinance provisions prior to the issuance of building permits. The applicant shall demonstrate the provisions of this ordinance have been met.
That would be more of a condition of approval on the stormwater and the main historic preservation.
I'm sort of puzzled by this line, like this.
I
this
know.
fact exists if this line is not written. You know what I mean? Like, you still have to meet the requirements for the ordinance.
Right.
2.7 off-street parking. Off-street parking requirements per Article 9 shall be met. We've already discussed Article 9. We've already discussed buffers in 2.8 and noise in 2.9. Oh, this is interesting. The noise here has different requirements than where is noise in here?
7.7-4.
All right. Is this different or is this the same?
60 decibels,
Yeah, 60 during the day.
the difference is 7-4 is a 12-hour period. 10-11 is 10 PM to 7 AM and 7 AM to 10 PM. It's just a technical correction that I have to make.
That's okay. 2.10 exterior storage of materials. Shall occupy no larger than 5,000 square feet. Not planning on storing anything outside. I'm sure that's not good for your furniture.
They get rid of all of those trailer trucks.
Get rid of trailer trucks?
I've got 3 trailer trucks on the properties across the street. That's what,
And they're orange, aren't they?
yeah, they brought me,
They brought
I
you-
mean, it was like the only one left in New England. It was during the COVID and storage space became super premium
No.
and, yeah, I can't wait to get rid of them.
Is that how you got that big chair down there? How'd you get that big huge chair?
We put it together, I'll tell you.
Ah.
Yeah, you want to buy it? I'm ready to sell it.
Make an offer, I love that chair.
All right, 2.11 property line
Sorry.
impacts.
Sorry, just,
Hey,
we're
folks,
almost,
we got a meeting to
yeah.
do.
we're almost all set.
2.11 property line impacts. There shall be no objectionable land, water, air discharges of the property line. That seems not an issue. Machinery testing. I think there's gonna be any machinery testing on site here. Delivery, there shall be no deliveries because it's hazmat. Not an issue. Discharges. Performance of Article 7, I don't think we really have this. That is the end of the list. So our approval. If someone has any other notes on this. In 3.5.1.10, condition of approval is going to be the receipt of the sign off by the fire marshal.
State fire marshal, yep.
Yeah. 3.5.2.8. We are waiving the requirement for a professional engineer or architect to provide the map. We just need this thing modified with the. Actually, why don't we, do we need to put that in as a condition? We probably do, right, for the blocks that are all missing.
Yeah.
So we need a condition for 3.5.2.3, 0.4, and 0.5 for the approval blocks. And then we're offering to waive the site map requirement in 3.5.2.8. We have, this is we're calling this the financial document.
That's what's provided, if you find it sufficient, or if you need anything else.
I mean, this is one of those odd ones where it's sort of unenforceable without having people's private information. I'm fine with that. (7.13). We have a condition of approval. We're waiting on the letter from the Maine State Historical
Yep, preservation.
Preservation, right?
Will 7.12 also be in condition for installing a lockbox?
I think that's how we have to do that, right?
We have, the fire chief just makes the recommendation, the board can.
We have to require it.
Yeah,
That
as
makes
a
sense,
condition.
right? So yes, that will be a condition as well to require the Knox box. Or lock box.
Yep.
You don't have to buy it from Knox. Also the Knox box.
Yeah, it's just working with the fire chief to have. Stuff like that, so he doesn't have 1,000 different keys.
There is actually one on the manufacturer, but
They have to go through Knox. Because that's where the fire department's key is. That it's,
so the fire department demands that it's a Knox,
It has to be.
a Knox brand box.
because they have a key that is locked in each fire truck. And that key goes to a code that Knox uses in order to gain access to that box.
If you happen to think of it, when you're talking to the chief, have him put that into the letter, because that could be problematic in the future,
Right.
you know?
But he's gotta see, I mean, they gotta see the fire chief in order to get the code from him to purchase that box.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't just arbitrarily go buy a box.
Oh, no kidding. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
know that. Oh, all right.
More you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess you guys get to keep that in mind.
All right, and then the erosion control plan, it needs to show your soil stockpile locations, the directions of water flow, your concrete washout area, and your spill kit stuff.
Which kid? What was the last one?
The spill kit,
Spill.
yeah. You're gonna have all kinds of hydraulic equipment running on
Oh,
that site. You need to be prepared for the oil spills
Yeah.
that can
I'm
happen.
gonna say, what are we gonna, yeah, that's a possibility, yeah.
Your contractor probably has all the stuff. He
Yes.
just needs to put it in the plan and
Yeah.
and show where it is on the drawing. Okay. And then 10.14.1.6 landscape features, we're waiving that. Along with 1.7. I think that's it. Does that sound right, Max? That should be done.
Yes, the motion would be to approve the application as presented with conditions for 3.5.1.10, 3.5.2.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.9. Well, no, I'm not, sorry, not 0.9.
We'll get that later.
I did have a map that showed the silt fence.
Yes, yeah.
So. Because all the dirt piles, everything will be inside that silt fence.
Just continuing on the conditions. 7.12, 7.13. Just having the lockbox installed by the fire chief, and then 0.13, a letter from the Maine Historic Preservation before a building permit is issued. I assume.
I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah, no, that's
What was the last one?
7.13 for a condition, receiving a letter from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission before building permit is applied or approved or reviewed.
I don't really care. I mean, it needs to be before the permit's issued, right?
Okay, just want to make sure.
Did you mention 7.12 for the,
Yep, lockbox has to be installed.
I wrote under 8.5 that there was a condition for approval there. I'm not sure why I wrote that.
That's because I wrote down that, there was no negative impact calculation, but I did the calculation. Right
You
before
did the calculation. Okay.
Yeah. And it showed that it's well below what would be a turbine sign.
Okay.
8.2 has condition to have the spill control / kits, the soil stockpile, direction of flow. Was there anything else?
Concrete washout.
Concrete washout. And then waiving 3.5.2.8 and 10.14, 1.6
And 1.7, right?
and 1.7.
I will move to accept the application as noted.
Second.
Discussion?
Was there any discussion from the citizen or any points from the audience?
Oh, yeah, we didn't really invite that. did we? Well, we're all trying to get Max off the vacation. Are there any comments from the folks in the audience about this? None, all right.
We're good.
Planning board comments? All those in favor?
And Barbara?
Yep.
All right. There you go, thanks for coming by.
Then I'll work with you after this for getting that settled.
I gotta go across to the mall. You're not around anyway, right?
Yeah, no, hopefully, you don't have to start tomorrow or anything.
Oh,
I'll have something typed up before I have to leave.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Max.
Take care, Chuck.
Thanks, Barbara.
All right, so next
Ever want to
up is meeting minutes. I don't think we have any minutes to discuss, right?
Didn't just the February one, at the
The February?
last meeting, but I think that under the circumstances, they didn't go out with your bundle this time. Or in an email. So you probably haven't thought about them at least since March.
Definitely not. I'm pretty sure I read them, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I was
I guess.
kind of lost.
So they'll actually be like 4 of the next. I'm sorry.
They explained it, or Max did, but I just.
All right, we'll have to be fast so we can leave time for that. Item 7 is comments from planning board members. We have on the agenda here vice chair and land use ordinance hearing date and stuff.
Very quickly on the vice chair, I just remembered there was previous discussion on having the officers. Next month's gonna be June anyways, and then July, which is when we usually get into the fiscal year and committees and board would be asked if they want to have any official changes anyways, so whether someone wants to keep it in vice chair. So whether someone wants to just keep in mind vice chair, or I might have already gotten a foggy head and forgotten if someone has already been selected as vice chair.
No, I kept inviting people and nobody wanted to volunteer.
Barbara was it for a day.
We're probably expecting to have Maine Health come back in here, and I probably am gonna recuse myself again, I imagine, since I have previously.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board on the recusal item and the recusal items. But yeah, just keeping in mind, it would be good to have someone be vice chair, just so that whether it's something where we know it's an application coming ahead and Brendan might not be the chair, or if it's a case where Brendan just doesn't show up to a meeting one day for one reason. Yeah, it's good to just have that backup so that we're not spending the first few minutes saying who's gonna take charge, and then we decide to pull the short straws and all that. So it would be good for people to just keep that in mind for at least next month.
I've got to determine if I will recuse myself, because I've worked for Maine Health for 36 years.
I mean,
And
I'm only just speaking from my
Right,
position. I'm not a
right.
voting member or anything. We do have 3 other members to still have a quorum, so I think even
Yeah.
if both of you were recused, there's
Yeah.
still, and you can still comment from the audience
Right.
as a resident.
I'm just gonna think about it and see if. I mean, I can still make a informed, unbiased opinion on it,
Mhm.
but the fact of the matter is, I've worked for Maine Health for 37 years.
And still work for them.
And still work, a good
Yeah.
point. Good
Yeah.
point.
Well,
So-
the way that I thought about it was, this process doesn't require me, like, the board exists whether or not I'm on it. The building can get approved whether or not I'm sitting up here, and as long as that's the case, then there isn't really any reason for me to create any sort of appearance of impropriety. That was the way that.
Right, and I feel the same way. My only dilemma is, because I've been in the healthcare field and with them, I mean, I have a lot of expertise kind of in that, what they're trying to do. So again, I'm the conundrum of sorts.
Well,
Well, you could do it as part of the audience, though. I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
do it that way.
I'll think it over once we get a date when they can come.
right. Yeah, you're still welcome to participate as resident. It's just. It is good to try and minimize that appearance of conflicts so that. Johnny, speaking as a planning board member who is gonna vote on it, saying. The experience working for Maine Health versus the Johnny who's in the audience, who isn't gonna be voting on it later, it's 2 different things.
Right, and I'll give it serious thought.
Is there a distinction made if you participate in the meeting, but just abstain from the vote when that time comes, right? So you could participate all the way through, comment as a board member, and then just abstain from the vote? Or do you think that that
It's,
appearance of conflict?
it still gives an appearance.
Yeah, there was an instance on the select board a couple of years ago where that happened, and it really. It did not look good. Where the select board member said, I think that the town should do this, but I'm abstaining from the vote.
Right.
And that was it was kind of like putting your thumb on the scale in the situation where you're using your authority as a member of the board to, influence what's going on. And it does seem like a silly thing to sit here or sit there, but, I don't know. I think that, if you can make it a clean break and there's nothing that's going to inhibit the process from going forward, to me, that's the right thing to do.
Brendan, I don't see what your conflict is at this point. I mean, you can feel that personally, but I don't see what yours would be.
Well, it's my never-ending need for vengeance, as I described it to Max the other day, I don't have a shop anymore because my landlord sold the property that I was renting. And so,
You're a big boy.
yeah, but I'm petty, and maybe I wanna keep, sticking my thumb in the eye of Maine Health. And like I said, you all can approve this without me, so I don't see any reason why I should, sit here and not recuse myself. There's no upside. There's no upside to anybody for me sitting here, right? Why do it? Doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, I guess, there's a downside for whoever it is that has to chair the meeting, because nobody seems to want to do it. But, that,
When are they coming, Max? Do you think? When are we worrying about this
They,
fictional, future meeting?
they almost tell me every month, prepare for us next month, and then the deadline comes and goes, and then I say, are you
Okay.
doing it? And they're like, no, we're doing it next month. And so I never know.
Yeah.
Could be next month, could be 2 months. I don't know.
make sure you're here for that one though, Barbara, because it's probably gonna be you again, I would imagine.
I don't have any vacation plans. Unfortunately.
So, the land use ordinance public hearing date discussion,
So
what's going on here?
So if everyone recalls, we were supposed to have a public hearing on April 4th for the land use ordinance. But a storm happened, because of course it did. That's just my luck.
So we still need to have the hearing.
Yes, there should still be a hearing, and the changes going before voters are strictly anything associated with LD 2003, because that has the tight deadline. And everything else in retrospect, well, and the shipping containers, that was something that the select board wanted to have addressed as well, because of some. Well, yeah. I'm only just saying it because it's been a clarifying issue, and Mark has been getting a lot of calls about that as well, where a lot of confusion's been happening, and that's something that the select board has to have cleaned up for that, and I've already gone over the changes that it's just getting rid of the shipping building container permit, which doesn't exist, and just having it as a building permit and requiring that it's just sufficiently screened from the neighbors, especially if it's gonna be a permanent one. So that, in addition to anything associated with LD 2003, will be going to the voters in June. Everything else we've talked about would be a different date.
Okay. Is there anything, is there any, sort of parameters around when this has to happen, other than it has to happen before the vote?
Should happen before the vote, because I won't be here next week, obviously. I think the soonest it could happen would be, the 30th, if that's possible. And if it's like all the other public hearings that I hold, I think we'll be here for 15 minutes and then say, no one showed up, and head on out.
Well, that sounds great. I'm not sure if I'm available on the 30th, but give me a minute to find out. Is everybody else available on 30th?
And voting day is what date again?
The 11th, I think.
Yeah,
June 11.
Yeah.
Or now,
Okay.
you want to do absentee?
Might as well do it. I'm fine with the 30th.
Yep, I'm fine with the 30th too. Let's do it.
all right. I'll make sure, book the room and everything for 6 p.m.
6 PM, you said?
Oh,
Right.
um,
Darlene Dorsey?
Yeah, I was about to say, so just some context for those who are not aware. I sent the notices out, and then I bumped into Dusty the next day and asked if a pre-application could be done for subdivision. I sent the material so that if there was time and the board was interested, to quickly hear the case in case, there might be a way of doing the subdivision. So would the board like to consider a pre-application for a subdivision?
We have time. Not gonna take that long, right?
Yeah, mine, taking the podium.
Thank you for agreeing to hear my spiel, how I end up with these odd oddities, but here we are again. I think the last time I was in was an after the fact. This one is not an after the fact per se, but a result of kind of a misunderstanding, and I don't want to say poor planning, but more of a misunderstanding. So Shane Johnson formerly owned the property at 86 and 96 Washington Road, Route 220. And he bought it in 2021. It was a 16 and a half acre tract. It had 2 primary dwellings on it. In 2022, he sold a 1.89 acre portion of that. He hired us to do a survey of that, sold a 1.89 tract. So sold one, retained one, 2 lots, 5-year period, no subdivision issues. Shortly thereafter, well, let me back up. This 16 acre tract is bisected by the CMP transmission line. Shane believed that CMP transmission line was owned in fee by CMP, and the significance of that is if in fact it had been, his land wasn't contiguous, therefore it was already separate tracts, not contiguous land in the same ownership. So On that premise, he said, well, I've sold one lot. This lot is already separate. I can sell this other house lot and not trigger subdivision. Well, hired me to survey the other piece on that easterly side of CMP. And when I was doing my research, I said, hey, wait a minute. That CMP line isn't owned in fee, it's an easement. So your land is in fact contiguous. So selling this other piece of your land would in fact constitute a subdivision. He had already entered a sales agreement and agreed to sell someone this portion of land thinking he didn't need subdivision approval.
So where's this third piece of land come from?
Well, so what happened, once he learned, in fact, selling this piece would trigger subdivision, he agreed to sell the whole remaining parcel. So,
Why is there a third piece of land?
because now he wants to get back the piece that he sold. So
The part that sits under the power lines?
no, so can I approach the?
Yeah.
So the tract here, it's. It took in this piece here and this, like, here's the CMP line, this parcel. Owned all of this, so he thought this split it, so he effectively had two pieces, so he sold one, and then what he agreed to sell was this piece, thinking this was already separate. No subdivision issues, but in fact, this is just an easement, so this is contiguous. So he would have created an illegal subdivision by only selling this portion. So once he learned that, rather than selling this piece, he sold everything. But in the purchase and sales agreement, these people graciously said, if you can, sell me everything. After this deal is done, if you can get subdivision approval, I'll convey this back to you. So now we're here looking to do a subdivision which would create this third lot. It doesn't exist right now. We're looking to now create it. Have I thoroughly confused you?
Yeah, I've not
Yeah.
talked about at all. So he has one piece of land.
He
wants to
doesn't
turn it-
own any of it now. He has, his interest is in the form of a purchase and sale agreement to buy back a piece. The piece he's gonna get back requires subdivision approval for them to be able to convey it back to him. Am I saying that correctly, Max?
Correct. Well,
It's subdivision, it's always
Yeah.
gonna be confusing.
Oh.
The sale of this piece back to him would create a third lot in a 5-year period. Therefore, he can't get this back without subdivision approval, hence this application or
Okay.
pre-application.
But would that
No.
application have to be made by the people who now own it, not by him?
Well, his interest is via, he has to demonstrate right title and interest. His interest is in purchase and sale agreement.
Oh, okay.
Well, I get, and that's how I understand it, Max. Would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
because it goes back to the question of standing, well, it's like the couple that we had earlier for the brewery.
Mm.
They could put it in the application because they're potentially gonna be buying a piece of land if they can get the application done. Shane as well, he could put in the application because he technically owns the land now and he's gonna give it to them later, so. Same thing in this case, Shane has something that says, I am potentially gonna buy this land as long as I can get the subdivision. approval.
Right.
So I have the right to do so.
All right.
So I know
Fair.
it's convoluted, but
I appreciate you explaining it because I could not get it.
Right, at all.
Letter.
Yeah.
so it's, he's not looking at developing it, not looking at even putting a driveway in, not building on it. What he wants to do is get back what he never intended to sell. He only sold it because he had to, so he didn't create an illegal subdivision. Right, had he retained that piece of land, he would
Oh,
have created.
Because he thought it was already a separate. piece.
Yes. He didn't want to sell that piece to him. He did because he's like, if I don't, then I'm creating an illegal subdivision.
Right.
So he went to his buyers and said, can we amend the purchase and sale? And if I get subdivision approval down the road, will you transfer it back? And they graciously, I mean, they had no obligation to do so. They graciously said, sure, if you can get a subdivision approval to do it. Yeah, we didn't think we were getting it, so yes, we would deed it back to you.
So in good faith, he thought
Trusting soul.
MP was.
Yeah, exactly.
The owner of that. But shouldn't he have done his due diligence
Yeah.
before all
Agreed.
of that? I
Agreed.
mean, not to pile on him, but isn't that number one, do your due diligence, who owns what?
No,
So-
no argument here. Well, he was surprised when I
Yeah,
went to him, he
no,
said, are
I-
you sure? I'm like,
Yeah.
100, here it is. It's an easement deed. You
Was,
didn't-
it had been in his deed, wasn't when the deed that he was transferring him must have shown that as an easement, not as.
It said accepting the land as the land conveyed to CMP in this deed. Well, that language kind of infers it was sold in
Oh.
fee. When you look at that actual deed,
Deed,
you
it's-
understand all that was sold were easement rights. So
Still has a lot of crappy lawyer.
I mean, that easement deed was created, I think, back in the sixties, so it was. Anyway, that's why I say it was one of those kind of, an oversight on his, yes, should he have picked up on it?
This
Maybe.
sounds very much like it's different, but it sounds very much like the situation with Heidi, where we basically are gonna listen to a story and then sign off on the subdivision, because there's no development that's happening. It's basically just a house sale.
And a transfer of land back.
Yeah, and everything that we'll have to go through the process, all the steps on the subdivision, and say, this doesn't apply, this doesn't apply. Basically, none of it applies.
That's what
Because there's no development of the land
But
that's
what if-
happening. All of the houses are existing on both lots, right?
And that piece of it, I've already surveyed those pieces where the development exists.
Yeah.
And
So
submitted.
he's
those.
getting back a piece of.
Raw land.
Raw land.
Correct.
How many
It-
acres are you talking about?
9 acres roughly. And that's the big question is, in the interest of trying to expedite things, he's like, if we've got to survey that 9 acre tract as opposed to giving a rough sketch to show the rough boundaries and that sort of thing, how soon can you do it? It's like, with the schedule, it's gonna be a while. So that was part of, do you think the board would, it's in the ordinance, says that a boundary survey is part of that for all the lots. Well, 2 of the lots with the development are surveyed. This 9 acre tract is clearly well in excess of minimum lot size and this, that, and the other. Do you think the board would entertain, and I know you can't hold you to this, but I'm just trying to, get the temperature of the room, and do you think that the board may entertain a sketch as opposed to a formal meets and bounds boundary survey of this third parcel?
So, but
Can I
where does the third parcel exist? here?
hold
I
on.
mean, on this,
I can show you, Barbara had a question. I
Yeah.
can show you if you can.
So David, does, the houses all meet, the 2 existing houses, they all meet their setbacks and everything? There's no issues with making that 2 lots in the first place?
Those were all approved with the town. I think I don't know I don't know if he dealt with Max on that or if he dealt with the CEO at the time, but those that has already been reviewed and approved by the town, the division of that parcel with the 2 houses on it.
And when was that? What year was that?
22 was the first
where.
division with the house. And I think the reason they were allowed is because they had 2 primary dwellings on a single lot of record, so it doesn't meet the setbacks, but we made the division line as conforming as possible, and that's why they approved the division. I have that survey showing those divisions and that sale.
Okay.
But then this.
Regarding your question about
But then you see the sediment. That's the wetland.
whether or not a survey is required. I guess I'd need to understand more about what exactly this piece of land is. Like conceptually, I understand the transaction now.
Yep.
But I still don't really understand. What the piece of land is, where it is. If you don't survey it, how are you gonna define it for the deed filing? Like, I mean.
Well, we can
I'm
describe
really-
it by a butter because it's bounded on the south and west by the state of Maine, the Maine Central Railroad. We got an abutter on the north, we got CMP. And the surveyed lots on the east, so
So you've got known points and you're just playing connect the dots here. There's no new points to create as far as.
Yes, essentially, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that piece that you're talking about it's this, so. The other confusing thing, it's on 2 tax maps and law, so U7 is part of it, this is the CMP line, so the parcel in question would be this roughly 9 acre chunk. There's CMP, not CMP, you got CMP, you've got Maine Central Railroad, and then you've got the Lace.
Be wild.
So
And
I'm confused because I'm looking at this right here and this is all inside of the CMP boundaries. So this is over here.
That's all
So what the
we-
heck is this? That's not on this drawing?
correct, that's here, that's the rest of this land. So what we did initially, when he thought he could do this, he hired me to survey this piece, and when I was doing the research for him, I said, hey, wait a minute. Here's your survey of this parcel, but you can't convey that because this is all contiguous. So he still had the survey of that piece done. But he couldn't use it for the sale because it would have created You couldn't sell that.
I think we need a clearer survey, which this shows us more clearly, because this is just not, I don't understand
Well, I would, certainly we would provide a map that would show all of the land.
all the land.
It just
Show
may not, and the difference would be, yes, you will have a map that would clearly outline all of the parcels, but do you need accurate meets and bounds, or to know that this is approximately 1,000 feet along Main Central Railroad versus it's 998.87. That's kind of the I mean, there's a big difference for me to prepare a plan that says this is about 1,000 feet, or to certify it's 998.87.
I mean, if you have a narrative way to describe the lot, like, I don't think we necessarily need to northings and eastings.
Okay, that's, you know, because it's for me to prepare a map like that and say these are the approximate dimensions is something that's much easier to do than to go through the nuts and bolts of precisely identifying the exact location of the corners and measurements to the nearest
I think,
hundredth of a foot.
yeah, I mean, as long as there's enough information that.
But Eric, to your point, I would completely agree, a map that lays it out more
This is
plainly.
too confusing.
Yeah, understood, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
But if you had a map like that, and I'm not holding, that might suffice, maybe not, maybe if that map's in front of you, you might change your mind, I
I
understand.
mean, this
Oh, yeah.
easement that's here, that this is the easement to that property.
Correct.
Through whose property is that?
Well, right now, it doesn't exist because that owner owns everything.
Own
That
everything,
easement would be
right.
created to provide access to this lot, assuming it got approved.
And they're willing to do that.
They were, yeah, they bought it. Well, yeah, that's what I said when he came back to me and said they're willing to do that. I'm like,
How the construction is right now, like the lots clearing here, or is that a separate?
that, is that further, I'm not sure. I didn't know they were.
Further south.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't know they were doing any work on that. There was no work going on when we were out on it, but that was several months like that.
Is that easement across field? Is that where they have to cut to? I mean, I'm surprised that the current owners would allow that to happen. 30-foot easement, that going that distance only back to that lot.
Yeah.
They may not understand what they're getting themselves into, but. Or have got themselves into.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of their problem.
That's kind of their problem.
Yeah,
As long as
like I
they're
said, when
willing
he
to
came
do
back to me and said they were willing, like I said, I said, great. You know, they easily could have said, no, either you sell it to us as is, or we're walking away from the sale. And they didn't. They said, sure, we'll play ball. So here we are.
So that's the boundary survey. Was there anything else that?
No, I think we touched, I mean, some of the stuff where there's no development, I suspect an application would say we believe that stuff not to be applicable, similar to Heidi's site. So it was, the boundary survey was the biggie, because that would be, I think, the difference between thinking, could we come back in June with a sketch versus, if we had to do a formal boundary survey before then.
That would be months to get to it.
Yeah, but some more of a sketch plan that shows the approximate boundaries might be realistic. Even then, it's gonna be tough to try and squeeze that in, but
Yeah, I mean, conceptually, I think that is probably adequate, as long as, enough understanding can be created for the members of the board, so that we understand what's going on here. I think that would make sense.
Duly, it would put these plans together with additional information, so you had it all in front of you, which I don't have one of those documents in front of me now, so.
Okay.
All right, that makes sense to me.
That was, I mean, are there any other questions, comments you have based on that little bit of info it's given, or not? All right, great. Well, I promise to be brief, so I will
All right.
get out of your hair.
Thanks for coming by.
Appreciate again you taking the time.
Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you.
If there's nothing else, I think we adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
All right.
Have a great vacation, Max.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Max,
Bye,
you going,
Barbara.
you going,
Hey,